So the SCOPE mission is a Japanese JAXA-led mission with the goal to study cross-scale coupling in fundamental physical processes. So it has two primary science objectives. One is to look at collision with shocks and how shocks accelerate and thermalize particles. And the second is to look at reconnection dynamics, and in particular how cross-scale processes affect reconnection dynamics. The SCOPE mission strategy is to use a fleet of 5 spacecraft. So it has a close mother-daughter pair that are separated by on the order of 10 kilometers, and then 3 far daughter spacecraft that separate by different distances that vary through the mission from, say, 100 to 5,000 kilometers, so that it's covering different scales in looking at these physical processes. And then the orbit is optimized to visit the key regions where the acceleration and reconnection occurs. So that's the bow shock, the magnetopause, and the reconnection, the tail reconnection region. So the spacecraft are not identical. The mothership is a comprehensively instrumented spacecraft with full particle and field measurements over wide energy range, including ion composition. And then the near daughter provides high-resolution field measurements. And the 3 far daughters are looking at providing the fluid scale, ion scale, and it again has both particle and fields measurements. So our contribution is the ion mass spectrum analyzer, which will be on the mothership. It's a time-of-flight mass spectrometer that's based on designs that we float on the cluster CODIF Fast Teams and stereoplastic instruments. It separates the key magnetospheric ion species, protons, helium, and oxygen. And then you can also look at solar wind composition, separating protons and alpha particles. So energy range about 10 to 40 keV. So the team consists of UNH as the lead, and we're doing the time-of-flight section and the electronics. We're working with Lockheed Martin, who's building the electrostatic analyzer, and then the University of Bern is providing calibration facilities. And then to understand these physical processes, the data analysis also requires a big modeling, theory and modeling component. So we're working with groups both at UNH and CyberQuest UCSD, and then groups in Japan that are looking at structure reconstruction and how to better analyze the data. So the contribution of our instrument to the mission is really a critical part of doing the science. The ion composition is needed just to know the fundamental plasma parameters that are relevant to the cross-scale physics. Just knowing the Alfvén speed or knowing the correct Hoffman-Teller frame requires knowing the ion composition. In addition, using heavy ions, because they have different gyroradius at the same energy, they can measure different scales. So you can look at protons and oxygen looking at 2 different scales. So you can use them as test particles that are probing the acceleration and transport processes, seeing how the different ones react and therefore understand better the acceleration processes. And then in some cases, the heavy ions really are dynamically important and can change the structure of, for example, the reconnection region, adding a larger scale or changing the topology. So then, it's really critical to know what the composition is. So just to summarize, this is a great opportunity for the U.S. to be involved in this new mission. The mission is really our next step in understanding these fundamental physical processes. It builds on the knowledge from Cluster, which was a 4 spacecraft mission looking at the ion scale, and the upcoming MMS mission, which is focusing on the electron scale. And so SCOPE will now be looking at the cross-scale component. And our instrument provides a critical component of this mission, giving the heavy ion measurements on the mothership.